What's up guys, Kudou here. Today we're going to try something of an experiment. This is an idea I've had for a while. Most people who have been with the channel for a while know that I mainly started this up as a way for me to talk and get my ideas out on some things that I find interesting that maybe some of my friends aren't really that into. Card games, mainly. So yeah, today we're going to try out a bit of an experiment called After Hours, which is something that I've been talking about for a while. Basically, this is just going to be a bit of a chill show where I talk randomly, without a script, without anything really in mind to talk about. The way this is going to work is off to the side here, I actually have a cup of coffee in real life. And I've made the coffee right before I started the show. I'm going to drink it slowly, and once the coffee is done, I will shut off the recording, and then I'll edit it, upload it to YouTube, maybe with some nice music. Who knows? Not really sure. So, yeah, basically we're just going to sit and I am going to ramble for a little bit. So, if that's what you're into, let's see how this goes. I can't really promise exactly how often something like this is going to come out. Obviously, it would be ideal if something like this came out every day, just because it's such an easy idea for me to do, and it's something that would really let me vent, let me blow off some steam at the end of a day. I could just sort of set up VR headset, talk to the camera for a little bit, and then head to bed. But who knows? It could be something that could be a bit of a regular occurrence, of course, but we'll have to see what happens. You know, I suppose the first thing we should probably talk about today, now that I think about it, is the fact that the new consoles are coming out soon. So when it comes to the new consoles, obviously I'm pretty excited for them. I don't know if I'll be able to get one anytime soon, though. That's going to be a little bit of a problem. We'll have to see how that goes. Oddly enough, though, even though I've sort of been a Sony fanboy ever since the old PlayStation 1 days, I'm not totally sure I'm on board with the PS5 right now. Don't get me wrong, at some point I will end up getting a PS5. I am a huge Final Fantasy fan after all, and Final Fantasy 16 is going to be a PS5 exclusive, but I just don't know right now. Sony's in a little bit of a weird spot where there's a lot of very strange censorship showing up in their games, and honestly their game lineups aren't really looking that good. The new Galgun game isn't even going to show up on a Sony console. That's so weird. I cannot believe we currently live in a time where I can play Omega Labyrinth for the Nintendo Switch, which is basically a game about boobs. But on Sony's console, I cannot play Deathmark without heavy censorship. It's just, I cannot get over that fact. We are currently in a time where Nintendo has all of the ecchi games and Sony is trying to get rid of them. Not even going to get Galgun. That is insane to me. Cannot believe. If I'm being honest though, I've never really been a big fan of Microsoft and the Xbox, but it kind of feels like this generation, Microsoft kind of has it in the bag. If you think about it, Game Pass is for sure the best deal you're going to find in gaming right now. The fact that it's going to have day one releases of all of these huge titles, you're going to be able to play Halo Infinite for free if you get it. You're going to be able to play, we already had the new Gears game that came out, and obviously I don't really care about Gears of War, but I mean, pay $60 or just pay a monthly subscription and get it for free. I'm going to go ahead and get it for free. It's just a really, really good deal. That, and they're talking about doing the Stadia thing, where they start streaming it to phones. So, you know, if I'm at work, taking a lunch break, and, you know, I decide maybe I want to play some Xbox games, I can go ahead and whip out my phone and then play a few games. It's just a really, really good idea. So far, as far as I can tell, it's way better than PlayStation Now. Like, I have had PlayStation Now, and PlayStation Now is pretty cool, but it suffers from a few problems. The first one mainly being the lineup. Like, I know Sony has access to a lot of really, really good games from the PS2 and PS3 days, but for whatever reason, the library's just never really been that good, in my opinion. Obviously, that is really heavily subjective. I'm not saying that is like for sure a problem against Sony and the PlayStation Now service, but In my personal opinion, I've always preferred Game Pass's lineup of games, especially because there's so many day one exclusives. Like, we're just now getting Days Gone on on Nintendo now, and that's just, I don't know. It took a little bit too long for them to get such a big title like that, so not really sure I'm feeling it. And again, that's weird coming from me because I've always been a really, really big fan of Sony consoles. When the PS1 and the Nintendo 64 were out, I was all about the PlayStation. When the PS2 was out and the GameCube was out, I'll admit, that one's a little bit harder because I did spend a lot of time on my GameCube, but that was mainly when I was playing with friends, you know, Kirby's Air Ride all day, Crystal Chronicles, Melee, all of these great multiplayer games, but I still gravitated towards the PS2 when I was in my alone time. Final Fantasy X, Final Fantasy XII, you had the Dark Cloud series, you had Kingdom Hearts. PS2 was my jam. And then, of course, PS3 and the 360 are out. That's not even a contest to me. I was PS3 all the way. For those who don't know, I tried the Xbox thing. Red Ring got me 4 times. I went through 4 consoles that had heavy technical issues, and I just couldn't do it anymore. So it basically just gave up on Xbox after that. When the Xbox One and the PS4 came out, I didn't even really get an Xbox One. In fact, if it weren't for Game Pass, I probably wouldn't have played any Microsoft games this generation. But of course, with the power of Game Pass, I was able to experience some of them, and honestly, it might be the selling point that makes me get an Xbox Series X over a PS5 this time around. Eventually, I might end up getting both. I can't really imagine myself without the newest Sony thing, so who knows? We'll have to see how that goes. Also, I have to say ahead of time, I'm really sorry for how awkwardly I'm moving around. I'm still not used to this whole VR thing, so basically the controls are still throwing me off a little bit. It's supposed to be really intuitive because it's supposed to mimic my hand movements as closely as possible, but the problem is my fingers naturally sit on the buttons, and that does things. Like, you'll notice that when I just have my fingers on the buttons like this, it gives the peace sign. So what'll happen is when I'm trying to make a hand gesture, I'll just randomly throw out the peace sign. I'm not doing it on purpose, it's just something that happens on accident. Maybe my fingers are just really lazy or something, I'm not sure, but they always rest there when I don't want them to. If I push the back buttons in, my hands are sort of in a more relaxed position. And then if I push in the side buttons here, it looks like I can point and then control my fingers like this and my thumbs like this. So yeah, I'm still kind of getting used to this. Really apologize for how messy it might look, but I'm doing my best out here. You know, in the great console debate, I didn't really talk about Nintendo very much. Obviously, I love the Switch. I think the Switch is amazing. My Switch is a little bit messed up by now. I've dropped it a few times, and it's, I don't want to incriminate myself here, but it may or may not have some modifications made to it that Nintendo may or may not be very happy with. I'll go ahead and just leave it there. But basically, what I'm trying to say is it's in a state where I will eventually need to upgrade to a new Switch. Interestingly enough, I don't know if this is happening in your areas. I would highly recommend checking it out just in case it is. The Walmart that we have here was actually giving out the Animal Crossing Switches as part of a clearance deal. Basically, they were selling them for like $224. If I remember correctly, those ones are the V2 Switches that have the better sorry, messing up my words here. Whew, maybe I shouldn't do these so late. They're the ones that have the better battery life. Like double the battery life or whatever it is. So if you don't already have a Switch, or if you're looking to upgrade, or if you just want a really cute looking Switch, I'd highly recommend going to your local Walmart and seeing if you can find that deal somewhere, or going on Craigslist or something and seeing if anybody's bought it and they're trying to sell it off. because even the people who have already bought up the Animal Crossing Switches in my area are selling them at like $240 to $260 on Craigslist, which is still a really good deal, especially if you can get the V2 Switch. So that's probably what I'll end up doing when I get some money under me. And honestly, it might be a deal that you might want to look out for in your area too. I know that we're pretty close to Black Friday, so a lot of people are trying to save their money for that right now, but if you can get a Switch for that price right now, it might even be better in the long run to just keep it and not open it and then sell it off, just because it's going to become a really rare collector's item. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up shooting up to like $500 soon, so I don't know. Check out your local Walmart if you can find one. I think it's a really great deal. You might want to take advantage of it. For those who care about my personal life, where do I even begin? So, for those who don't know, I work at a school. I am basically a special needs tutor. That's not technically my job description, but it's basically what I do. And school system's a little bit of a mess right now, as you probably well know. The school model that we adopted right now is called the hybrid model, where basically kids come in person for 2 days out of the week, and then the other 3 days they stay home. The problem with this, of course, being that, okay, I want you to picture for a second, all right? You are a middle schooler, okay? And if you already are a middle schooler, this is going to be very, very easy for you to visualize, I guess. But basically, I want you to think about this. So you're a middle schooler. You come to school 2 days out of the week. The other 3 days, you stay at home without teacher supervision. They just give you a pile of work, and then they tell you to do that work. How much work do you think you're going to get done? Oh, wait. Come on. Throw a number. Throw it in the comment section. How much work do you think you got done? Well, I'm going to go ahead and spoil it for you. Not a lot of these kids are willing to actually do work outside of school hours. It's so horrible because we have that in conjunction with a new thing that got passed at my school that basically says kids can no longer receive a 0 on any of their assignments. So if a kid does no work, turns nothing in, then they still get 50%. They have to at least receive 50% on all of their assignments. I mean, I don't need to tell you, it's a pretty terrible idea. There's a lot of kids just not doing any work right now, and what's my favorite part about all of this is the fact that because everything is so messed up right now, if a kid does no work, but then uses the excuse that they just didn't understand something, or that their computer wasn't working, then they basically just get off scot-free. I don't want to be too harsh, you know. I was a kid too. I get it. I totally understand where kids are coming from. Honestly, if I had to go through school right now with this pandemic going on, I probably wouldn't do any work either. I would probably use the same excuses these kids are. So I'm trying not to be too harsh on them, but being somebody who now works in a school, it is a little bit frustrating because my job is to make sure these kids get good grades. So it's a little bit frustrating to be in a position where I can't really make sure these kids are getting good grades, especially if you have a kid with special needs who really needs that extra attention and genuinely does need help with the assignments. Because they are only in person for 2 days out of the week, and because they need to be with their teachers for a lot of that time, I don't really have a chance to work with them as much as I would like to. On top of that, I'm in a little bit of a pickle right now. Basically, I made really good friends with one of the new teachers this year, and for whatever reason, something got twisted in her head where she thinks I'm like this evil psychopath who's trying to take away a bunch of power from her in school. Basically, let me explain. I guess I was helping her out too much during the first quarter. Like, I kept offering to help do stuff. She was one of those teachers who tried to just get rid of all of the lesson plans and stuff and try and come up with her own lesson plan. And, you know, she's 20. This is her first real job. Totally understand where she's coming from. She wanted to try a new approach. I wanted to be as helpful as possible, so I tried to help her. I came up with some things that she could help her kids with. You know, she wanted some interesting articles the kids would be interested in reading. I came up with this really neat article on like female ninjas, and there's this really cool historical figure called Yosuke, who was the first and only, to this day, African-American samurai. I made up a thing on that, and the kids really enjoyed it. Everybody had a good time, but this quarter, something completely changed with her demeanor, and she is just absolutely out to get me this quarter because she thinks that I was taking advantage of her to gain more power in her classroom, which is ridiculous. Like, I don't know why she thinks I would purposefully give myself more work to do, especially when I don't get paid anymore for doing that extra work. I was just trying to be as helpful as possible, but yeah, those are just sort of my woes, the things that I'm dealing with in real life right now. I can tell you for sure, though, that just outside of me, the school system is really, really messy this year. So if your kids are having any problems, or if you are a kid having some problems, you're not alone. It's just a mess everywhere right now, especially in a place like Arizona, where our numbers are just a roller coaster going up and down. So hopefully it gets better, but we will see. As far as what I'm playing right now, oddly enough, I went back and I'm playing the original .hack games again. I've decided that instead of playing a bunch of random games, and I'm trying to get off of online games like League of Legends and MMOs for a little bit, because I have this huge list of game series that I really love that I've never really sunk my teeth into as much as I would have liked to, so I'm kind of going back and trying to dedicate a lot of my time to playing a lot of those games. Right now, the thing that's sort of at the front of my head is .hack, so I'm going back and I'm playing the original games. I have beaten the first 3 games. I've beaten the first game like 20 times because I keep thinking, okay, I'll go back and I'll play all the games and it'll be great. And then I beat the first game and then maybe beat the second game and then stop, and it happens every time. I've beaten the third game one time, once in my lifetime, but I've never even played the fourth game, despite the fact that I own it. So right now what I'm doing is I'm going back and I'm replaying that series, and I'm trying to take it really seriously this time. Basically, in real life, I'm starting to sort out my time a little bit. I'm trying to dedicate some equal time to getting my hobbies done, and also obviously getting some videos made. I'll speak a little bit on what's going on with the videos in just a second here. But right now, I'm trying to focus on getting through all of the series that I love that I've never really gotten a chance to beat everything in. So we're going to start with .hack. I'm going to go through, beat the original .hack series, and then get started on GU, beat that series, maybe rewatch the anime, and see how far I can get there. I think the Link project finished translating .hack Link. I'll have to get into that too. Maybe I'll try out Fragment. I don't know if it's really worth it at this point, but maybe I'll give that a shot too. And then what else? I know there's a movie I need to get into. There was a fighting game. Surprisingly good fighting game, by the way. If you can find the .hack fighting game, extremely good. And yeah, I think that's about it. I'm going to catch up with .hack, my favorite video game series of all time, Atelier. I really want to get caught up on that. I've only beaten like half the games, and I think they're amazing, but somebody fan translated the original PS2 game, so I'm going through and I want to beat those first, and then I want to re-beat all of the PS3 ones for context, and then I want to get started on some of the more modern ones. I didn't really get too far into the Mysterious series, so that's something I'm going to have to get into. I would like to get some of the Rune Factory games beaten before the new Rune Factory comes out. There's just so much, man. I've spent too much time playing sort of random games. I need to go through and actually buckle down on some of the stuff that I really love, especially now that my time is so limited. Like, I don't want to sit here and make excuses for myself, but one of the things that makes making videos so hard nowadays is the fact that I get up at about 6 o'clock, maybe 7 o'clock-ish, and I have to start getting ready for work. And then after I get ready for work, I have to actually go to work. When I get home from work, it's about 5 o'clock. And because in my spare time I do online teaching, between 5 and 6 is the only free time I really have nowadays. And then at 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock is when I have to do my teaching, and I have to give my lessons. And then from 7 o'clock to 11 o'clock is the time that I spend with my girlfriend. And it's really the only time during the day that we get to hang out and actually relax with one another. And then from 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock, I've got a little bit of time, and I'm hopefully going to fill that time by making videos like this. But if not, it'll be time to catch up on some games or do something relaxing before bed. And then I can go to bed and do it all again the next day. Really, the only free time I have right now is on the weekends. The weekends are definitely the best time for me to make longer form videos, like the Metamorphosis series, for example. Probably my biggest series right now. It's getting... Obviously, the numbers aren't going to look super high compared to like other videos. Obviously, they're not getting like thousands of views, but they are getting pretty respectable views compared to some of my other videos. So it's a series that I really want to focus on more, and I would like to make more of those, but I can really only make those on the weekends. Despite the length of the videos, they actually take a really long time to make, because I've got to go through, I've got to read forums, and I've got to read deck lists, and I've got to look up information on old cards and erratas, and trying to keep track of the limited editions and promos and stuff is a pain, because like there's just no site that properly displays them when they were actually released. So yeah, and again, I know I'm sitting here making excuses for myself, but I literally am at a point right now where I only have 1 hour of free time a day where I can dedicate to doing something like making videos. So I have one of two options. I can either make shorter, more free-form videos kind of like this, or like game reviews or things that don't take up as much of my time, and then do the other stuff on the weekend, or I can figure out a way to quit my job, which, don't get me wrong, is definitely something I'm trying to do to get more of that time, because honestly right now it's either I don't make any video at all for the day, or I make something that only takes about an hour to make. And to give context, a regular Metamorphosis video takes about 5 or so hours to make. Normally, the metric you can use to see how long a Kudou-kun video takes to make is it's normally about 5 times as long as the video itself. So if a video I make is 30 minutes, then it took at least 2.5 hours to make it. That's just sort of how it works. Sometimes it takes more, sometimes it takes less, it kind of depends, but on average it takes roughly 5 minutes to record 1 minute of Kudou-kun footage, and that's editing and doing the research and getting any images I need, editing any images I need, so on and so forth. It actually takes a lot longer than you would think. So yeah, that's pretty much what's going on there. I would also like to start cutting out some time to get back into streaming. I know I've been saying this for like 4 or 5 months, but I'd really like to get back and do another Omnibus. Omnibus being this program that I used to do, or that I did, I think, like twice, that I would like to do again, where basically we go through and we just play a bunch of ROMs and then we rate them. If it's a really good game, we send it to ROM Heaven. If it's a really bad game, we send it to ROM Hell. And basically the fun of it is we play a different game every 5 minutes. So it doesn't really matter when you tune into the stream, you're always going to be on track with everybody else, because we're just constantly changing games over and over again. So I think it's something really fun. I would really like to get one done again. Maybe if I can get some time moved around, I can get them started on the weekends, but I'm not too sure. Now that I think about it, I've got some extra time on Wednesday, because Wednesday is going to be Veterans Day. And Veterans Day is a day that I have off because the schools have it off. That's one of the cool things about working for a school, is your days off are going to be really set in stone, because it's based on when the kids have their days off. So, I mean, my job has some of its perks. It's not all bad, for sure. Alright, we've only got a little bit of coffee left, so let's see. Probably got time for about one more topic. I guess what we can talk about is VR. VR is something that I'm really into. Obviously, as you can tell, I've pretty much been enamored with VR ever since I got PlayStation VR, and then I ended up having to sell it, but that's neither here nor there. I'm really, really big into VR gaming right now. I've got the Oculus Quest 2, which I do plan on doing a review on at some point. I've just kind of been really caught up with other stuff. I haven't really had a chance to test the limits as much as I would like to, but I'll give a mini review here. I really enjoy it. I think it's fine, although I will say that in my personal opinion, I do kinda sorta like my Oculus Rift a little bit better, although I am planning on selling my Rift S soon, so we'll have to see what happens there. I have a few problems with the Quest 2 that people haven't really been bringing up, one of which being there's actually a lot of light bleed right here at the nose, so whenever I look down, I can fully see everything that's under it. It's very, very immersion breaking, but for some reason, I seem to be the only one in the VR community that's really having that problem right now, so maybe it's just me, but I can't really imagine what the problem there could be, considering the fact that when I use my Rift S, I don't have any problems at all, so I don't know. It's definitely something I'll have to work on. When it comes to actually playing VR games, I've been really into a service called Viveport. If you haven't heard of this and you have a VR headset, listen up, okay? I'm going to tell you the best thing that you haven't heard yet. There is a service called Viveport Infinity, and it is basically like Game Pass or Netflix or one of these subscription-based services, but it's for VR games. Highly recommend it. It is so good. It's about $9 a month, and you get access to the hottest VR games, okay? This isn't just some throwaway trash stuff. I'm talking really high-quality games like Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, and what else was I playing? I was playing some other stuff. The mech game. No, I can't remember it. Vox Machina. Vox Machina is on there. It's a really, really good game if you're into piloting giant robots. Lots of good stuff. If you have a VR headset, I cannot recommend it enough. The only thing that I have to tell you, though, is it only works with PC headsets. So you might be wondering, well, if you have an Oculus Quest 2, why are you recommending it to me? It's because you can hook up your Oculus Quest 2 using either the virtual desktop, which is something that I'm really loving, by the way. Just to go on a small tangent here, people who say that they don't want to try out the virtual desktop thing because they're afraid that maybe their Wi-Fi is not going to be strong enough for it. I have the worst Wi-Fi of all time ever, and I get the best frame rates using desktop. In fact, virtual desktop works better for me than actual Oculus Link, so just something to throw out there. And like I was going to say before, you can use Oculus Link to essentially emulate your headset as a Rift S. So highly recommend it. And don't be scared off by the fact that it's called Viveport, okay? Just because it's called Viveport doesn't mean it only works with like the HTC Vive. I'm telling you, if you have not looked into Infinity, you need to look into Infinity. It is such a good service. Well, guys, my coffee is finished. That is about all the time I have for today. Thank you so much for stopping by. This, of course, is going to be a little bit of a messy affair because it is the first time I'm doing something like this, and I'm still not totally used to controlling a VR puppet body yet, but we'll see how it goes. Obviously, if you have any thoughts, if you have any criticisms maybe you'd like to throw me, or if you have any suggestions on what I could talk about or what I could do better, leave it in the comment section below. Even if it's mean, you're not going to hurt my feelings. It's pretty tough to hurt old Kudou-kun's feelings at this point. Obviously, if you don't mind too much, leave it a like. Likes really do help out the channel. And finally, subscribe to stay up to date on the latest Kudou news. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the more chill video with hopefully some relaxing music. And I will see you guys maybe tomorrow. We will see.